swing and a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
This is the Fly the W podcast, season number 4, episode number 64. The Cubs and Shota Imanaga part ways, and you are listening to us as part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe. Most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on all the socials. I'm at Mullion Haw on X.
You can follow me at Crawley's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. And you can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. Dustin, since the last time we talked, we had a World Series for the ages, I think. And now free agency has officially begun as of 8 a.m. Central Time on Sunday. And Dustin, it's been the Wild West today, hasn't it?
Yeah, lots of moving parts. I would agree with you. One of the best World Series I can remember. And it went 8 games in a little bit, right? It was not even a 7-game series. It was an 8-game series based on the 18-inning game we had. And it definitely lived up to the hype. And that Game 7 had a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and you know, good for baseball. I hope they build off it. I hope that they continue and are able to figure something out before the next CBA expires, because you want to build on something like that. But part of this whole CBA thing now makes it confusing as we are getting into talk of free agency. And so The last time we were on here, right, we were talking about all these, free agents that the Cubs are going to have and, how this is all going to work. So as of 8 a.m. Sunday, after the World Series is over, right, the Cubs had to take Aaron Savali, Brad Keller, Caleb Thielbar, Carlos Santana, Drew Pomerantz, Kyle Tucker, Ryan Brazier, Taylor Rogers, and Willie Castro off the 26-man roster. Some of those obviously more painful than others. And we talked about some of those guys on the last episode.
Right. Some were kind of no-brainers, right?
Right. No doubt about it. But now free agents cannot sign with new teams just yet. The first 5 days of the offseason are an exclusive negotiating period during which free agents can only talk money with their most recent team. In addition, the deadline for players and teams to make a 2026 option decisions comes 5 days after the World Series. So this all started on Sunday, right?
Right.
And
we're still not 5 days removed, right? We're still not 5 days removed.
We still have more to come. We have more to come. But that's going to include either the opt-outs to players options, the club options, the mutual options. And the one, Dustin, I think that we were thinking about, but we were not sure how it was all going to play out, was Shota Imanaga. So to me, Dustin, this was both shocking and not shocking, right? That all the decisions and how it played out. But it was, to me, Jesse Rogers was the first to kind of break this, right? That Shota Imanaga is a free agent. So the team rejected their option to extend his contract out to a 5th year.
Right.
That triggered his ability to exercise a $15 million player option for 2026. And he declines that as well. Were you surprised? Not surprised?
Well, I wasn't surprised about the first part. I'm not surprised that I would have been floored. I think you would have been too. Obviously I don't want to speak for you, but if they would have guaranteed him $50+ more million, that would have shocked me based on the fact that a fully healthy guy was not brought into a decisive game against the Brewers in the playoffs. Not at all. Not even warmed up, Crowley. So that wasn't going to happen. I'm more surprised that he did not say, well, I'll take 15 million and I'll roll the dice. Like, he thinks there's more out there for him, but there still is a possibility, right, that he comes back to the Cubs at a number higher than 15, but probably lower than 25, somewhere just above 20 million, correct?
That's correct. But when you talk about a fully healthy guy, I have questions. And here is what Jed said when he was talking to the beat writers about Shota Imanaga right after the season ended?
When we signed Shota, he sort of shown us his production over the last 2 years. He would have taken that in a heartbeat. So not only has he produced for us, but he's just a great teammate, terrific asset to the organization. Obviously we have decisions to make and we have discussions to make, and we over the next 2 or 3 weeks we'll do that. But I've got nothing positive things to say about Shota.
So good.
I mean, it
right?
would have been massive breaking news if he would have said something negative about Shota. He didn't say anything that was like, oh wow, we could have written that, like AI generated GM talk about player under contract, right? I mean, there's nothing crazy there.
Nothing crazy, but I guess when you think about it, Shota signed that contract 2 years ago, and I'll never forget it because I was at Cubs convention and I was invited to the press conference, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget. He first words out of his mouth, "Hey Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are going to win today." He wears number 18 because of Ben Zobrist. He comes out to Chelsea Dagger. He just embraced everything. And when you take a look at that first year with the Cubs, he finishes with a record of 15-3, a 2.91 ERA, and 29 starts. I mean, he is in the Cy Young conversation. I want to say he finished 5th in Cy Young voting there. He was up for a possible Rookie of the Year discussion. And then he comes into the second season. And Dustin, if you sat there and you looked at it, say he got injured. And that to me is always the question, is how much of that played a role? Was he the same guy before the injury and after the injury? And we don't know Shota well enough to kind of.
And you're correct. That's a huge point. It's a huge point. And obviously the Cubs have way more information than Crawley and I have on this. And also it was the idea that even if he wasn't hurt, let's say he was tipping pitches, or people were like, they didn't think they could fix it. Because I think if they thought they could fix it, they would have, maybe tried to have done that $15 million thing. But
Right.
maybe he thinks he can get 2 years, $30 million. I think the timing is just bad for him, considering how he pitched at the end of the year, where we are with the labor agreement. I just don't know that there's a market for that type of pitcher at 35, 40 million over 2 years guaranteed.
Well, pre-All-Star game, he was 6-3 with a 2.65 ERA. Post-All-Star game, 3-5, 4.78. And again, when you look at the numbers, the one that just pops out is September. Mm-hmm. He goes 1-2 with a 6.51 ERA. The huge home run that he gives up to Manny Machado, the disaster in game 2 against Milwaukee in the NLDS. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened. And again, it doesn't surprise me that Shota did not exercise the player option. Okay. Because that's going to put the Cubs kind of in a little bit of a bind, because you know that they're going to want to get that draft pick, right? So you make the qualifying offer. And if you do that, again, he's going to make a lot more than what he would have made annual average value over the last 3 years. Right. I don't know what he wants to do. I don't know where he's going to go. And the other thing, Dustin, to think about is that there are a couple Japanese players that are going to be available this offseason. And so I just kind of sit there and I wonder, like, oh man, I don't know, maybe we've talked about recruiting being a part of this. And you saw obviously the Dodgers have, some of the best Japanese players available, but it's a big deal, Dustin. You're seeing these Japanese players come over and make a difference. We're going to talk about that in segment 3, but with a couple of guys that are potentially coming over here, I'm wondering what it's going to do. But yeah, he still could be a Cub, right? He could be a Cub.
It's not over yet.
Not over.
But it's not looking like it's going in the right direction.
Again,
that's safe. That's safe to say. That's safe to say. And right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious if the Fly the W listener has had enough of Shota Imanaga. If there's an appetite for Shota Imanaga right now. I'm okay without him right this second. I feel okay without him. I mean, now I want them to put that money to good use, right? I don't want that to go back into the pockets. But I'm okay with him not being a Cub right at this second.
I just
I mean, now I want them to put that money to good use, right? I don't want that to go back into the pockets. But I'm okay with him not being a Cub right at this second.
I just kind of, it stuns me a little bit because you're not the only person to say that, just how out of love. I mean, like every single time he would start on the marquee, it would say Showtime. Like
Yeah.
it was an event. And then all of a sudden September falls apart. And you know, you take a look at Nico Horner last year, kind of having his struggles at the end of the year, and we find out he wasn't 100%.
Right.
This year, totally different, and now he's a Gold Glover.
Right. And there were talks that he might get traded, right? I mean,
Right.
like at this time last year, we were probably talking about whether or not they were going to trade him, whether or not we thought they would trade him, what could you get for him? And now it's like, sign this guy to a 10-year deal. You know, a lot changes in a year, right? A lot changes.
I guess. To me, I'm just sitting here like, wow, we've all kind of forgotten what Shota did based on what happened in October, which I don't think was representative of his time here in Chicago.
I just think this telling factor is assuming, and assuming is a big deal. There's a lot of assumptions, right? Assuming he was healthy, because he did pitch before that. They skipped a healthy guy. Didn't even warm him up. Wasn't coming out of the bullpen. Didn't use him. And that's pretty amazing.
No, and you couldn't. You really, really couldn't. That's the thing, is you saw they were just teeing off on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
they had him figured out.
They
had him figured out.
The qualifying offer is $22 million. So if you think about it too, Dustin, if you do that 1-year qualifying offer, if, let's say Shota accepts it, then either way, he's gone after the 2026 season. And we talked about all the players whose contracts end at 2026.
And that's what they may want, right? Maybe that's exactly what they want to happen. Maybe they're
clear the books.
Maybe they're playing their hand perfectly in their opinion.
Yeah,
okay.
Clearing the books.
I mean, that would kind of side with what you're laying out, right? That, you know, he was very good in the regular season. He's been a great teammate. He's had a lot to offer. The fans love him, all those kinds of things. But, you know, can you use that $22 million and win instead of spending that $22 million and just getting there?
I think, like I said, I would love, and I'm sure we're going to hear more from agents and everything else, that Shota was not 100% and he kind of came back early. And, you know, these guys do that all the time. It's not the first time we heard.
Sports. Right.
Yeah.
It happens in sports all the time. Right. Guys come back sooner. They want to be there for their teammates. And I respect the hell out of that. The hell out of that. And again, if we hear that, okay, maybe my opinion changes, but then at the same time, I could be pissed off and say, well, did he hide it? Like Kyle Tucker may have hid it from the Cubs, telling them that he was better than he really was. And maybe eventually, you know, 70% Kyle Tucker is 70% Kyle Tucker better than 100% of Big Red, right?
Well,
is 70% Shota better than Colin Ray? I don't think so.
No, and so we'll see what ends up happening on this. I got a feeling this is not over, but like I said, my instinct right now is they are going to give him the qualifying offer. That's going to be a very hefty payday for Shota. I don't know if anyone else is going to give him the multi-year deal because we don't know how anyone's going to act because of this whole CBA mess.
Right, because of the CBA, correct.
But if the Cubs do give him the $22 million, then it just tracks that once that season's over and we have a new CBA, hopefully before the 2020 season or 27 season or after, that all, like, basically the Cubs are literally going to have like no payroll other than Dansby Swanson. Everyone else is just pretty much going to be on rookie contracts. Nico will be contract up. Ian Happ contract up. You're talking about Jamison Tyone's contract up. Shota will be up. They're essentially all going to be gone. So how they rebuild this, what it's all going to look like, there's a lot. But Dustin, Shota is not the only one. There's a lot of players.
Not the only
I'm not
news.
Going to go through.
Not the only. Yeah, not the only news out there. No.
I'm not going to go through all the names because there were clearly a ton, but there's some interesting players that now become free agents. Some that have been named to the Cubs or linked to the Cubs in the past. Others that have ties to Craig Counsell, the skipper. Others have played for the Cubs. So Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz opt out for the Mets. I don't see Alonso coming, and I don't know if Jed has the stomach. I just don't know if they're going to spend a lot of money, but I know they're not going to probably be spending it on a reliever like Edwin Diaz. The Yankees say, you know, Cody Bellinger opts out. He's still looking for that next big deal. Former Cub Cody Bellinger. Alex Bregman, who was tied to the Cubs last off season, has opted out. From the Padres, starter Michael King and relief pitcher Robert Suarez, both linked with the Cubs in the past. Ha-Sung Kim from the Braves, who I've been interested in. Lucas Giolito, remember him from the South Side. Brandon Woodruff from the Milwaukee Brewers. Guy can't stay healthy, but man, when he is healthy, he is pretty amazing. There are a couple Cubs that are not Cubs, couple players that opted into it. Lourdes Gurriel from the Diamondbacks, Tyler O'Neill from the Orioles, Wandy Peralta from the Padres, AJ Minter for the Mets. And then a couple players had their club options declined. Thairo Estrada from the Rockies, Tom Murphy from the Giants, backup catcher. And then Michael Lorenzen, who I thought that there was some trade talk at the trade deadline, possibly with the Cubs. But they had their options declined. So a lot, we're going to definitely dive in the next episode, talking a little bit about some of these free agents and what the contracts are going to look like and all that stuff. But definitely a fun day if you're a baseball fan to kind of be sitting on the Twitter machine.
Yes, absolutely. It's a good point. A lot of hot stove stuff going on. No doubt about that, Crowley. All right. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. The Cubs trading Andrew Kittredge back to the Orioles for cash considerations. Knee-jerk reaction. Jerk might be the key word. Sounds cheap. Sounds cheap.
Yeah.
This guy closed games for you in the playoffs. Closed games. High leverage out-getter. And now you give him back because you don't want to pay him $1 million? I get the not wanting to pay him the $9 million. Okay? I get that. They probably might be able to do better than, but I mean, so you don't even have to pay the $1 million? It's kind of weird.
I get that. I think the cheap part is not the $1 million. I think it's not paying the $9 million. That to me was the cheap. We talked about how he was clearly by far the best trade acquisition that Jed made this offseason. I mean, he had one bad game, but he had a 3.32 ERA in 23 games, struck out 32, walked only 3 in 21 and 2/3 innings. And Dustin, it felt like sometimes he was Craig Counsell's like safety blanket. He appeared.
Oh, he was like the first guy. He was like his first guy in the circle of trust. Yes.
And so I'm surprised at this. He was due to make $9 million, which is just kind of, to me, average for a reliever. Like it's kind of like the mid-tier range of a reliever. So that one I'm just kind of stumped with. I know that Jed kind of thinks he can find these closers. I'm just tired of him taking half a season before it starts to come together. I would just like to have a good bullpen to open up a season, not blow a bunch of games before you kind of figure out, who you got and who you don't have. Right.
Right.
And so I just thought Kittredge was a good, experienced arm in the bullpen. I'm just, a little bit stunned on that. And
I don't know. Maybe Andrew wanted to go back. Maybe, we didn't get to know him that well, assuming he's got a family. Maybe the wife and kids liked Baltimore. Maybe that's where he preferred to be. These are things that we don't know at the moment. Correct. Like those are possibilities. He might've said, "Hey guys, I really liked it here. I appreciate it. But if you could do me a solid, I'd really love to go back to Baltimore. I think they'd like to have me back."
Well, maybe.
Right, that's possible, right? I mean, I know it's a business. Don't get me wrong, but that came into my mind when I was trying to think this thing through.
Well, the Cubs traded for him, so now he is, part of the Chicago Cubs, and it really isn't up to him. It is up to the Cubs.
Oh, sure, I agree, but I'm just saying there are those personal feelings, though, right? I mean, I know it's a business and whatnot. I'm just saying, happy life, happy wife, all that kind of stuff.
I think she's just happy getting the $9 million. So that would be my opinion.
You could buy a lot of airplane tickets between here and Baltimore for $9 million.
Right. I don't think I don't know why. I don't think that's it. I don't know if they're just gonna allocate that money elsewhere. That's going to be the big question. But Dustin, if you remember, we're talking about that about Shota. We're talking about that about Kittredge. And then we remember they never allocated the money from Cody Bellinger last year.
No, and Cody Bellinger, there's a name, Crowley. Could Cody Bellinger be back with the Cubs?
Definitely something that we're going to have to take a look at. But my point is, is that, you know, I keep hearing about we're going to, you know, allocate this money, but it didn't get allocated last year. What makes you think it's going to get allocated this year?
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some good news for the Cubs, Crawley. Tying a franchise record for Gold Glovers. Three of the 6 players got the Gold Gloves, and that was the 3 that we expected to get the Gold Gloves. I think of the 6.
There was clearly no doubt that Nico Horner was far and away the best second baseman in all of baseball. Ian Happ 4 times in a row, and then PCA the first of many. We knew Matt Shaw wasn't going to beat out Key Brian Hayes, and Patrick Bailey was going to have the catching. The only one that I thought was going to potentially break the franchise record of 3. And I know that that the new Chicago Sports Network kind of got that tweet wrong a little bit earlier, but I thought that maybe with I thought that Matthew Boyd was going to take it, but Brandon Webb gets it. And I thought that was the one that I thought potentially had it. But when you take a look at that, the most consecutive Gold Gloves by a Cub is 9 by the late Ryan Sandberg. That was 9 in a row from 1983, Dustin, to 1991. So I don't think Ian Happ is going to break that, you know, even though he's got 4 straight. I don't think he's going to get to 9 straight. I think that Nico Horner really was overlooked last year. I'm glad he got his second career Gold Glove. The question is, how many do you think Pete Crow Armstrong gets in his career?
Great question. Great question, Crowley.
I mean,
put the over under at 8. Is that crazy? Is 8 crazy?
I don't think it's crazy. The question you're going to ask yourself is, are they all going to be with the Cubs? And you hope that they are. I thought that he should have been considered last year. I thought that was a joke that he wasn't considered in 2024, in my opinion. But he was just a phenomenal defensive player, one of the best in center field that I have ever seen personally, as far as center fielders are concerned for Cubs. Now, Dustin, it is up to fan voting for the Platinum Glove. The way this works is fans vote for the best defensive player from the 9 Rawlings Gold Glove winners in each league, and that vote is combined with sabermetric data to find the single best defensive player in each league. The Cubs, this award's only been around since 2011. There's only been 1 Cub to win this award. That was Anthony Rizzo in 2016. So Cub fans, get on it, get online and make your vote. I've already voted for PCA. You should as well.
All right. Tell people where to do that again, Crowley.
If you go to the Rawlings website, www.rawlings.com, you can vote for that. And then there's links on the Cubs website to get you there. They're going to tell you to vote for all of them, and you can vote for all of them. But to me, I'm just trying to get all my votes for PCA. And then I purposely, for the American League, I think I picked the utility guy for the American League so that it would take votes away from Rafael Cedena, who is, you know, I think Pete's biggest competition for that Platinum Glove. So yeah, please vote.
You're listening to the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. It is season 4, episode 64. The Cubs and Shota Imanaga look to be parting ways. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. 5-star reviews. We'll take it. You can also email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us on Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. We are coming up to the 10th anniversary of the 2016 Cubs World Series win. Sunday was 9 years ago. A few of those championship-winning Cubs were returning to the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center for the Chicago Sports Spectacular in November. In this segment, Crawley talks to Kevin Schwartz of Schwartz Sports on which of your favorite athletes will be at the Spectacular, signing autographs and taking pictures. This is the Fly the W podcast, season 4, episode 64. Cubs and Shota Imanaga are parting ways. Crawley, on the last podcast, we got into a couple of the World Series games, but when we left our listeners, it was a best of 3 series, Dodgers and Blue Jays. Let's give everybody our thoughts on what was one of the most memorable fall classics in quite some time.
Dustin, I know I'm not as tuned into all sports like you are. I knew that there had been no repeats in baseball since the Yankees of 1998 to 2000.
Yeah, it's hard to repeat in pro sports nowadays. Yeah, hard to repeat. Those dynasties are gone. There's windows, there's pockets where you might win, 2 and 5 or 3 and 4 or something like that. But back to back and 3 in a row. It's really hard nowadays.
That was, according to Sarah Langs, the longest drought without a repeat champ in the 4 major sports history.
Yeah.
And
great follow. She's a great follow on Twitter.
I just got to tell you, Dustin, I don't follow football as close as you do, but I was like, man, didn't the Patriots do it? But apparently not, huh?
No, they got there. They had it ended by the Giants. The Chiefs were in position to do it, weren't able to finish it. So very hard.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was going to happen after Game 5 when Trey Savage. I mean, what about that kid, right? I mean, first off, the Dodgers jump all over Blake Snell with the back-to-back jacks, right? David Schneider hits a solo home run.
That was the Blue Jays jumped him, right? First 2 batters, 3 pitches, right? They were only 3 pitches into that ball game, and that happened.
Vladimir Guerrero was the other one.
Right.
And then Enrique Hernandez, he always finds the magic in the postseason. He hits a solo home run off Savage, but that was it, man. I mean, Dalton Varsho hit a sac fly. They scored. The game ended up being a blowout, 6-1. But the story is Dustin, this kid, Savage. I mean, he pitched 7 innings, 12 strikeouts. That made him the youngest pitcher to strike out 10 or more in a World Series game, breaking the record set by Smokey Joe Wood in 1912. I love those old names.
Smokey Joe Wood. They sound like athlete names. Like these parents name their kids that to someday be athletes, right?
Right. And he surpassed the previous rookie record of 11 set by Don Newcomb in 1949. 3 hits, 1 run, no walks. I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. So you're going back to Toronto and you are thinking to yourself, okay, Toronto's got him on the ropes. You just need to take one of the 2. And I do want to say Game 6, shout out to my guy, he's been a guest of the podcast, friend of the podcast. How about John Vincent singing the national anthem in Toronto, Game 6? Did you see that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What an absolute awesome moment for me as a Cub fan to see Johnny out there. He's just such a great guy, such a great human being, a gentle giant. And to see him get that honor was truly, truly tremendous. Kevin Gausman taking on the unflappable Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Was he going to get another complete game? The Dodgers kind of broke it open a little bit earlier. Mookie Betts had that big hit. I thought the 2-run single that gave the Dodgers a 3-0 lead. And when I'm watching this game though, Yamamoto 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 run. So he didn't go complete. But Dustin, everything kind of changed in that wacky 9th inning, right? 9th inning, Alejandro Kirk's hit by an 0-2 pitch to lead off the inning. Then Barger, Bam Bam Barger. What a offseason or what a postseason he had. I mean, that was just unbelievable. But he hits the ball and it looks like it's going to easily score a run. And then all of a sudden the ball gets lodged in the padding. And Dustin, I know as a Cub fan, right? You and I both know that the rules, right? You know what the ground rules are before the game. And when it comes to Wrigley Field, the Ivy monster that's eaten everybody up before and just swallows ball whole. Everybody knows what the rule is. If the ball goes in the Ivy, you put your hands up. Do not dig in there. And then it's a ground rule double. And so I sat there, and when I saw that ball get lodged underneath there, I wasn't sure of the rules, but you know what? The Dodgers were well aware. They put the hands up, ground rule double. And so they will eventually get that run to score to make it a 1-run game. You got a runner on second, right? And how about Tyler Glasnow coming in? But he gets Andre Jimenez to line into a double play. Barger was leaning off too far. Just an unbelievable way for that game to end. Double play to end the game. Just shocking.
Double play to end the game. Yep. Double play to end the game. Just a great World Series, and obviously a real obvious MVP of that series, right? I mean, getting the 8 outs after starting the day before. I mean, just crazy. Absolutely crazy. What a World Series.
We do know that the 2 best words in baseball, Game 7.
Yeah.
And
in all sports, right? In all sports, not just
all sports, but especially baseball for me, I guess. And we all think back to the Cubs Game 7, and I didn't even have a dog in this fight, Dustin, and I was just getting nervous, and my stomach was turning as you sit there and you go in there, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, you got Max Scherzer, you know, coming in there. And when I took a look and you saw that Bo Bichette hits the home run, right? I'm saying to myself, all right, off Shohei Ohtani, no less, hits that 3-run home run, and it's 3-1. They're hanging on, and then it comes to 4-2, and then you get into the 8th inning, right? And you get Yesevich to come back out again, and Max Muncy solo home run to make it 4-3, and then they go with their closer. You get it to the 9th. You're 2 outs away, and Blue Jays closer Jeff Hoffman gives it up to, of all people, Dustin, Miguel Rojas, who had lost his job. I mean, he literally lost his position. It was, it was just unbelievable. And then all of a sudden, he ties up. That was a 91% chance to win Game 7 at the start of the inning. 91% chance. And to sit there and lose it. And then you start getting into all these crazy things. Bottom of the 9th, right? You're sitting here and Guerrero almost hits one out. That bases loaded play where you had Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and he did not take a big lead. And afterwards, he said, they didn't want me to take a big lead. You got to get as much. No one's saying a big lead. You don't want to get doubled off, but you have to take a bigger lead. And he gets thrown out at home by Rojas. That would have been the game. That would have been a game right there. And then Clement comes out with 2 out now because of that play at the plate. Bases loaded. A fly ball, right? Clement hits a fly ball. Ernie Clement, who had just a phenomenal series. Andy Pages comes into the game for defense. He plows over Enrique Hernandez. And 1, I don't think he's going to get to the ball. He just took off. 2, when they collided, that was a violent collision.
Mm-hmm.
That was just phenomenal. What a play. And he's able to catch that. And now we got the first any extra innings game since 2016.
Yeah. Know what happened then? We know what happened then.
And Will Smith hits a home run off Shane Bieber. And Dustin, like you said, there's no doubt that the MVP was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I mean, just looking at what that kid did, it was, World Series Game 2, 9 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 8 Ks, 1 walk. Game 6, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 6 Ks, 1 walk. Game 7, the next day, 2.2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 1 K. 3 wins the guy gets there. There is no question there. And that just reminded me a lot of Randy Johnson in that Game 1 in 2001.
Yeah.
Pitching Game 6 and Game 7. He just had to pitch longer. He had to pitch 2.2 innings compared to 1.1 for Johnson. But I am absolutely just blown away. And Dustin, as trying to be objective baseball fan and taking my Cub fandom out of it, which I know sometimes is hard for me to do, I think the storyline was better in 2016, where you had the 2 teams with the longest droughts in baseball, the Cubs in baseball, 108 years, and Cleveland, which I think was at like 68, 69, something like that at the time. So you knew one of them were going to break it. Cubs were down 3-1. They were able to come back. The Game 7 was one of the wildest Game 7s, and to win in extras after it looked like the Cubs were going to let it slip, right? The Rajai Davis home run and the rain delay and the tarp and Aroldis Chapman crying in the dugout. And you're saying to myself, this is going the wrong direction. And then all of a sudden you see Schwarber get the hit, and then Ben Zobrist gets the big double, and Miggy gets the insurance run. And then even then Cleveland comes back, and they were threatening again in the bottom of the 10th. But if you take a look at the series as a whole, all 7 games, I think this World Series tops it. I think that when you take a look at all 7 games, because in 2016, if you go back and look, Game 1 was a blowout. Cubs got blown out by the Indians in Game 1. Yep. Game 2, the Cubs return the favor. They blow out the Indians in Game 2 behind Jake Arrieta.
No, just not nearly as competitive, correct.
Game 3 was really, really a close game, really close game. The Cubs had the tying run, I want to say at third with Javi Baez up in Game 3. They lost that one. And then you had Game 4 was a blowout. The Cubs lost that one. Game 5 was close. Game 6 was a blowout, and then Game 7 was close. So you had like 4 blowouts and
7
3
might have
close
been 7 might have been more exciting, like more action, if you will, right? I mean, it was back. It's like a heavyweight fight. You'll take that. Well, I'll take that. Well, you got that. I'll take that. You know, it was a 1-2, 1-2. That was watching that again, the highlights of that game on the anniversary on Sunday was a lot of fun.
I would say that when you talk about the World Series as a whole, like the 3 that I always think about are 2001 Yankees, Arizona, obviously the Cubs versus the Indians in 2016. And I think this one is going to be up there. And I think, you can make an argument however you want on those 3 World Series. But to me, as an older baseball fan, in my 20s, in 2001, I was in my 20s, you sit there and I think I appreciated those. Those are the 3 that really stick with me. I remember 88 and Kirk Gibson. I remember other World Series, but those 3 to me, when you're talking about excitement and event and just phenomenal play and stuff like that, it's going to be hard to beat those 3. So I'm going to give the 7-game series to this World Series, but the Game 7, I'm still going to go with the Cubs versus Indians in 2016.
All right, Crowley, that is a wrap. Don't forget to listen. Don't forget to download. Don't forget to review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Email us your thoughts and your questions. Crowley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. You can watch us by subscribing to the Crowley's Club YouTube page. Crowley, have a great next couple of days, and we will keep bringing you Fly the W fans the info as we see it, and then we will react to it with you.
Yep, let's hope that Jed knows what he's doing. Go Cubs!
It's all over.